stench of despair hangs heavy over Nigeria's internally displaced persons camps, a stark testament to a nation's failing conscience. While we acknowledge the vast challenge confronting our government, the plight of our most vulnerable citizens demands an immediate visceral response. Their lives, already shattered by conflict and displacement, are now further desecrated by those sworn to protect them. This is not merely a crisis, it is an open wound festering with neglect, corruption, and an unspeakable betrayal. Join us shortly as we imagine a life where every sunrise brings not hope, but a renewed struggle for survival. This is Viewpoint, where we discover perspective and embrace dialogue. I'm Olaiton Babatunde. Africa, a continent scarred by conflict and displacement, bears the grim distinction of hosting the largest number of internally displaced persons. Within this harrowing landscape, Nigeria stands as a tragic testament, consistently ranked among the top three nations grappling with this profound humanitarian crisis. Yet, beneath the visible layers of suffering, the makeshift tents, desolate faces, the pervasive hunger, lies an even more sinister reality, a betrayal so profound it chills the very soul, the rampant sexual abuse of women and girls within the supposed haven of internally displaced persons camps. A recent horrifying report by the civil society organization Global Rights Nigeria has torn back the veil on this hidden torment, titled Sexual Violence and the Hidden Agony of Nigeria's Displaced Women and Girls. The document lays bare a brutal truth: access to the most basic human needs, food, clean water, life-saving medicine, or even a place to rest one's head, is routinely conditioned on sex. Imagine the despair, the utter degradation of a mother forced to choose between her dignity and her child's survival. This is not a distant, abstract horror. It is the daily reality for thousands. What makes this revelation even more sickening is the identity of the perpetrators. These are not shadowy strangers lurking in the periphery. According to the report, they are rarely strangers. Instead, they are the very individuals entrusted with the survivors' care: camp officials, security agents, aid workers, and even fellow displaced persons. The guardians have become the predators, transforming places meant for refuge into new arenas for terror. How can one reconcile the mandates to protect with the monstrous act of demanding sexual gratification in exchange for sustenance, for safety, for a mere flicker of hope? It is unforgivable criminal betrayal. Security personnel whose sworn duty is to shield the vulnerable and aid workers whose mission is to alleviate suffering have twisted their roles into instruments of exploitation. With thousands reportedly sleeping in the open, exposed to the elements and living in conditions of unimaginable squalor, the environment is ripe for such predation. The sheer desperation of the displaced creates an open invitation for the depraved to exploit their plight, turning their profound vulnerability into a weapon against them. This nightmare is not new. It is a recurring unaddressed wound. As far back as August 2016, the United Nations Special Rapporteur, after visiting IDP camps in the Maiduguri area, recounted the exact same chilling situation. Camps should offer protection. The UN envoy had declared his words, echoing with a profound sense of alarm. Yet, I am alarmed to learn that many are in fact the settings for exploitation and abuse of the most vulnerable. 6 years on, the tragic implication is clear. Nothing has fundamentally changed. The same horrific reports persist. Women and girls face demand for sex to access food or to leave the camps. The devastating consequences, early pregnancy and forced marriage, are commonplace. Why the pervasive fear of stigmatization and deep-seated cultural factors silence countless victims, trapping them in a circle of untold agony. In these camps, basic human dignity is a forgotten luxury. Hunger gnaws at bellies, shelter is a flimsy promise, and clean water, a fundamental right, remains an elusive dream. Clothing, a shield against the element and a symbol of modesty, is scarce. Children born into this desolation are robbed of their future, denied access to education, condemned to a circle of illiteracy and hopelessness. The trauma of displacement manifests as widespread post-traumatic stress disorder, while infectious diseases spread unchecked, turning makeshift settlement into breeding grounds for illness. But the horror deepens. The very lifelines meant to sustain these desperate souls are severed by avarice. It is common knowledge, a scandalous truth widespread in hushed tones, that relief materials, food, medicine, blankets are brazenly diverted, appearing not in the outstretched hands of the suffering, but on the open market sold for profit by officials whose moral compass has utterly failed. Funds earmarked for the displaced are shamelessly misappropriated, vanishing into the pockets of the corrupt, leaving the innocent to starve. This is not just theft, it is an act of profound cruelty, a direct assault on human life. Yet, amidst this landscape of despair and corruption, one issue screams for immediate, uncompromising attention: the pervasive sexual exploitation of women and girls. What is unfolding in Nigeria's IDP camps is a widespread systemic failure, one that has normalized coercion and buried the cries of survivors beneath layers of fear, shame, and neglect. The global rights states what is unfolding in Nigeria's IDP camps is a widespread systemic failure, one that has normalized coercion and buried the cries of survivors beneath layers of fear, shame, and neglect. This is not isolated depravity, it is a systemic rot. The impunity is staggering. There is no reason for this abuse to cease when perpetrators face no consequence, no justice, no retribution. This is a systemic problem deeply embedded in the very fabric of our society, where available statistics on sexual and gender-based violence across the country reveals its pervasive nature. Why very few states commit resources to helping victims secure justice? The silence of the law is deafening, emboldening predators and crushing the spirits of survivors. We demand, with every fiber of our being, that the global rights report be investigated with the utmost urgency and transparency. Every culprit, from the lowest abuser to the highest official complicit in this monstrous crime, must be apprehended and brought to justice. This is not merely a humanitarian appeal, it is a moral imperative. We cannot, as a society, stand by and watch the systematic destruction of our most vulnerable. The silence surrounding these atrocities is complicity. We must demand immediate, decisive action. Accountability for this monstrous act is not a request, it is an absolute imperative. The women and girls in Nigeria's IDP camps deserve more than just survival. They deserve protection, dignity, and justice. Their cries for help must no longer fall on deaf ears. That is all on today's episode. For more political content, subscribe to this channel and follow us on all our social media platforms at VG Media. Thank you for listening.